Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into an absolute whirlwind of news from July 14th, 2026. We are about to untangle 15 major, totally interconnected global headlines to see exactly how foreign policy ripples directly into domestic politics and beyond. It is a massive day for global news, so we're breaking it all down visually to help you connect the dots and see the bigger picture. Okay, let's dive right into this. Here is our roadmap for today. 1. Crisis in the Gulf. 2. Middle East security frictions. 3. Standoff in the U.S. Capitol. 4. Ukraine war and allied tensions. And 5. Global crises and health alerts. Starting us off, Section 1, Crisis in the Gulf, the current epicenter of global tension. If you want to understand the sheer stakes of the U.S.-Iran conflict right now and this renewed U.S. naval blockade, you really just need to look at this quote. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps issued a severe, chilling warning, declaring that not a single drop of oil and gas will be exported from the region as long as U.S. military operations continue. It instantly establishes just how incredibly high the stakes really are today. And this brilliantly illustrates the immediate fallout from that tension. Out at sea, the International Maritime Organization has confirmed some pretty devastating Iranian missile strikes on the UAE-associated tankers Mombasa and Al-Bahaya. 2 mariners were killed, 14 wounded. Meanwhile, up in the sky, the EU Aviation Safety Agency literally issued a bulletin warning commercial airlines against operating in the airspace of Bahrain, Kuwait, Qatar, and the UAE. They're citing extremely high risks from unpredictable drones and active air defense systems. So how is Washington responding? Well, the U.S. Treasury Department just enacted sweeping new sanctions, and they're taking a very deliberate dual-pronged approach. They are specifically targeting individuals, maritime vessels, and entities tied to the conflict. But at the exact same time, they're issuing a temporary general license to allow the safe offloading of previously blocked cargo. So it's a calculated move. They want to squeeze their specific targets while still actively managing the incredibly complex logistics of global shipping. Now, watch this rapid policy pivot. First, the IMO and global shipping companies pushed back intensely against President Trump's proposed 20% transit fee. The resistance was immediate. That actually led the president to backtrack on those tolls. And ultimately, it shifted the strategy entirely, with Middle Eastern allies committing to massive new trade and investment deals in the U.S. just to offset the financial costs of naval protection. Moving slightly westward, let's hit Section 2, Middle East security frictions, regional diplomacy, and domestic moves. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the stark contrast you're seeing unfold in regional diplomacy. Under U.S. auspices over in Rome, delegations from Israel and Lebanon met and successfully outlined terms for an Israeli military withdrawal from pilot zones. But, almost in the same breath, Hezbollah immediately rejected the proposed disarmament framework. So you're looking at a profound diplomatic stalemate. To complicate the regional map even further, an Axios report revealed that President Trump has personally pressed Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to pull military forces out of southern Syria and Lebanon. The U.S. administration's clear goal here is to prevent a broader regional war. However, Netanyahu reportedly pushed back on this, actively defending these military deployments as absolutely critical buffer zones for his country's security. But foreign security doesn't happen in a vacuum, right? It's deeply intertwined with domestic politics. Back in Israel, the Knesset prepared legislation to freeze ultra-Orthodox military enlistment for at least 7 months, which is a highly contentious move regarding military draft policies. Significantly, Prime Minister Netanyahu conspicuously left the chamber before this controversial vote even occurred. It's a major domestic political maneuver happening right in the middle of these broader international security crises. All right, let's move to Washington and see how this builds. Section 3, Standoff in the U.S. Capitol. Foreign escalation hits domestic gridlock. Take a look at these numbers. In a pretty rare legislative standoff, the Senate voted a tight 50-46 to block debate on the National Defense Authorization Act, with Senate Democrats leading the block. What that actually means is that a massive $1.15 trillion defense bill is completely frozen in its tracks. To understand exactly why they're doing this, read this argument from the lawmakers who blocked it. They stated, Congress should not approve the massive defense budget while the Trump administration expands military operations in the Middle East without explicit congressional authorization. See how that connects? They are directly linking their domestic blockade on Capitol Hill to the expanding U.S. military operations in the Gulf that we literally just talked about. And amidst this massive gridlock, the broader gears of Congress are still turning in different ways. Darlene Graham was formally sworn in by Chuck Grassley to temporarily fill the seat of her late brother, Senator Lindsey Graham, which was a very poignant moment on Capitol Hill today. Meanwhile, former SCC Chairman Jay Clayton faced his confirmation hearing to become the Director of National Intelligence, finally stepping up after significant bipartisan pressure regarding the vacant position. Pivoting to Eastern Europe now. Section 4. Ukraine War and Allied Tensions. Civilian Tolls and Sanction Battles. I want to anchor our attention for a second on this grim statistic. 293. According to a newly published UN report, this represents the minimum number of civilians killed in Ukraine during the month of June alone. Behind that number is a genuinely tragic reality. June has officially become the deadliest month for Ukrainian civilians in over 4 years. This sharp increase is driven entirely by a tactical shift from Russia, which has heavily ramped up long-range missile strikes, deliberately targeting residential areas and critical civilian power grids. So, the crucial point here is how this conflict creates rifts, not just on the battlefield, but directly among allies. House Democrats, led by Gregory Meeks, are calling a proposed Senate Russia sanctions bill a Trojan horse. They're arguing that this legislation, which is ostensibly designed to punish Moscow, actually acts as a backdoor mechanism. They say it would grant President Trump unilateral authority to impose heavy tariffs on European allies. Finally, let's zoom out to our last segment. Section 5, Global Crises and Health Alerts, Human Impacts Beyond Geopolitics. First up, we're looking at the number 30. It's a stark figure that immediately conveys the severity of a tragic human loss unfolding over in Thailand right now. Thai authorities confirmed today that the death toll from Sunday's devastating pub fire in Bangkok's Chatuchak district has risen to 30, as 3 more victims tragically succumbed to their injuries. And the ongoing scale of this disaster is just immense, with 75 individuals still hospitalized and receiving medical treatment as we speak. On top of that, a major health crisis is accelerating. The World Health Organization has issued an emergency alert regarding the Ebola outbreak in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. It is now the fastest growing on record. What makes this so alarming, and what you really should take away from this, is the unprecedented speed and the terrifying reality that a majority of the new infections are tracing back to completely unknown chains of transmission. Wow, okay, we have covered a tremendous amount of ground today. As geopolitical standoffs literally block trillion-dollar defense budgets in Washington and unpredictable health emergencies spread at unprecedented speeds, we're really left with one critical thought. How exactly will global commerce and international security adapt to these cascading, simultaneous crises? Thank you so much for joining this explainer. Keep analyzing these connections, stay curious, and I'll see you next time.